Yeah, I haven't seen them yet. I was connected this morning. I was listening to, I forgot, apologies, I forget his name, the logistics presentation, which is really interesting. I love the example about the Boeing screws, or was it Airbus? And yeah, sorry, my mistake. So yeah, really interesting. I love this presentation, very informative. That's all right. That's all right. I'll introduce myself properly anyway. Okay, ready for me to go? Yeah. Okay, so that's me sharing, hopefully. Can you see my screen, Hubert? Fantastic. Okay, great. Okay, are you able to hear me at all? Okay, I've lost your audio. I can hear you there, just then, on the stream. Yeah, sure. Give me a sec. Okay, I'll stop sharing. That's all right. These things happen. Sure. Okay. That's okay. That's okay. No problem. Fantastic. Thank you so much for the introduction, Hubert. And good morning, everyone. I just want to thank you for that there. Just want to jump straight into it and going to build on what Hubert's already kind of discussed there. I was going to start by apologizing. I appreciate I don't look a lot like my profile picture at the moment, but then I realized you're all budding entrepreneurs and you'll soon learn to thrive on that change. Before I wanted to get into the talk, I just wanted to take a moment to as I said, build on what Hubert said there. I'm an e-commerce consultant and strategist at the moment. My name is Suk Taka. I'm based in London in the UK. Before I joined Shopify, I actually co-founded 2 businesses on the Shopify platform. The first of which was actually intended to be a marketplace for sustainable fashion that I co-founded with my wife. That's unfortunately no longer active. That kind of pivoted into an art gallery, also co-founded with my wife, which is still operating, albeit on another commerce platform. I have about 8 years of experience using Shopify. That ranges from building, maintaining, or consulting on about 30 stores, with budgets for new websites ranging anywhere from £500 to £50,000, and businesses with annual revenue in excess of about 25 million. Again, as Hubert mentioned, most recently I worked at Shopify for a little over a year as a senior merchant success manager across the UK and EMEA. What that looked like was consulting e-commerce brands to make better use of the Shopify Plus platform and the wider e-commerce ecosystem. So my talk today is around maximizing Shopify's potential, essentially getting from 0 to 1, or can be summarized as getting from 0 to 1. And what that means is getting your first sale and going beyond that. Frankly, I could talk all day about great features and best practices, but I've only got 20 minutes. So with that in mind, I'll be covering some essential features and best practices that I feel are imperative in getting started on Shopify and maximizing that potential to succeed. So the first thing I wanted to kind of talk about was just starting small and iterating. Start by moving and taking each step in succession. Another way to look at this is to say, don't reinvent the wheel. As you get started, you likely don't know a lot about your business, your customers, your market, and so on. What I would suggest is that you get started with what you have and adjust as you learn and know more. Shopify itself comes pretty well equipped out of the box. And as you get started, the less you have to concern yourself with, the better. And here are some key things I would enable straight off the bat out the box. The first is Shopify payments. It seems like a very obvious thing to kind of point out, but there's also other benefits to using it. Getting paid. Cash flow is going to be the lifeblood of your business. If you get started with Shopify payments, which is naturally tightly integrated with the Shopify product and platform, it comes out of the box with the ability to take payments via Amex, Visa, and MasterCard, and can be used to enable accelerated checkouts such as Google Pay and Apple Pay. And as you can see on the screen, according to a recent study, Shopify payments has been shown to reduce friction at checkout by simplifying the checkout process and converts 36% better compared to similar providers such as Magento and BigCommerce. Additionally, ShopPay, which is Shopify's own accelerated checkout method, can also be enabled here, which once enabled can be used across Shopify stores throughout the ecosystem. Similarly, this has been shown to lift conversions by as much as 50% compared to guests using guest checkout, and is about 10% faster than using other accelerated checkouts. And the reason why this is important is because in the checkout experience, milliseconds matter. The other advantage of using ShopPay, in addition, which can only be used with Shopify payments, is you can maximize your store's visibility on the Shopify ecosystem, and it can be used as a discovery tool by potential customers globally using the ShopPay app. The next thing I would recommend is Shopify collabs. Put simply, in order to make money and drive traffic, you need to do some marketing. Let people know about your product, your brand, and maybe even you as the founder. There's a common thing across the business world: you have to spend money to make money. As an entrepreneur, ideally, you don't want to spend money without an unknown return on investment. Instead, why not drive sales through implementing the marketing and pay as sales are made? And Shopify Collabs is essentially an all-in-one solution to find influencers. I run an affiliate marketing program that boosts sales. So essentially, without even leaving your Shopify admin, you can interact with and administer collabs to connect with creators. You can send gifts and samples. You can reach your audiences with great sales, and you can pay creators automatically. Moving on from that, another thing I would recommend you install is something like Shopify Search and Discovery app. So this allows your customer base to get a better understanding of, provides customers the ability to search and discover, can help them in many ways, including the features outlined as you can see on the screen. You want to make it as easy as possible for your customers to find what they're looking for in order to reduce the bounce rate. So, for example, as outlined in the example, you can create synonym groups. What that means is if, for example, you have a fashion store and operate in the UK and the USA, trousers and pants are essentially the same thing, respectively, in those countries. So if a potential USA customer types in pants and only finds underwear, which is what we call it here in the UK, they're going to be sorely disappointed and may even browse elsewhere. Because you can anticipate this nuance, they are more likely to convert to a paying customer. In addition to these features, you can also see the analytics screen here, which can be imperative to the growth of your business. Similarly, using a fashion example once more, let's say your fashion website currently exclusively sells dresses. But if you notice a continued interest in online store searches with no results for example, skirts, then maybe you should consider selling skirts too. You have now effectively identified a customer demand, and clearly they have indicated that you perhaps would be the preferred supplier. So it kind of helps you not only sell what you already have, but potentially might help you grow in other sectors as well. If like me, Shopify magic, this is in writing notes, essays, and presentations just like this one, you get writer's block from time to time. Then help is on hand. With Shopify magic, product descriptions essentially write themselves. You can simply enter some keywords and features and select the tone of voice, hit generate text, and like magic, the tool will generate a description. Fair warning though, be sure to proofread the suggested copy before you hit save. What this allows you to do is actually create high quality, compelling product descriptions in a matter of seconds, saving time that can be used for all of the tasks that you have to complete. The feature can actually also assist with email subject lines, your built-in theme editor, and Shopify inbox instant answers. And shortly after I left Shopify, they announced that over the coming year, they'll be enhancing this into even more Shopify tools as well. The final thing I want to talk about in this section is actually one of my favorite features that was launched, which is meta objects and meta fields. Whilst I must admit not everyone will need this, I thought this is a good thing to cover, as perhaps as you begin to grow, indeed start with a complex and large data model, this might come in very handy. So the possibilities with this are, put simply, quite endless. But one of my favorite use cases of this was to actually simplify content management. This is covered in the case study in the links, which I have sent over to you, but I'm sure we'll upload it if not he hasn't done already. But one of the case studies was for a brand called Smash and Test, who wanted to increase conversion on the storefront by using influencer recommendations as a form of social proof. And what they do is they craft these stories by engaging with brand ambassadors to create a unique product collection that are effectively a reflection of their personal story and relationship with the brand. So each brand ambassador has similar sections across the site. And for example, the homepage features row sections that highlight each individual with their name, image, a social handle, a link to their custom collection, and usually a link to their story. And essentially the same data composes sections that can be used elsewhere on the site. So to only have to upload each influencer's data once and dynamically reference each field when applicable, or of course when it's updated, it just has to happen once rather than multiple pages, and that structures influences as a meta object composed of meta fields, being the way to go in this instance. So meta objects ensure that the data is captured in one centralized place and is available anywhere on the store, online store via liquid. Another example, and you can see an example on the screen itself, is that you can actually use it to link related products, so that you can either upsell or cross-sell other products that might be related to the one that's being displayed on the screen at the time. Okay. The other thing I would say would be, don't be afraid to explore. I actually heard Hubert say a few times over the last day or so, and I want to repeat it: be curious. As entrepreneurs, you'll be highly likely beginning yourself as a one-person company who has to do everything. As you build your business and in time your team, having that insight to each area of your business can only better guide you as you scale. Embrace that exploration. Use it to seek out new ideas, methods, and strategies. I think that's incredibly important. With that in mind, as you kind of start to build your Shopify stores now, both the theme store and the app store recently went a huge overhaul. and many non-compliant themes and apps were removed. Similarly, the ability to filter by feature had drastically improved on the theme store, and is now a better way of understanding what categories and apps you can consider with and what they'll integrate with. I neglected to put that example on. I do apologize. But yeah, essentially take your time to review apps and themes for key features that you wish to use or will likely use in the future. This can be hugely beneficial in reducing your time to market, your ability to adapt and make changes to the theme and app over time. An example of this was I did a kind of work with a client of mine. They wanted to move quickly. They weren't very happy with their current website, but they had a very small budget. So what we did was we scoped out what we needed, what we wanted, and what we could possibly do later. So based on that information, we set out to find a theme that ticked most of the boxes as much as we could. We then configured the theme in the background and using Shopify Experts, which is a tool you can use to find developers and other people who might can help with digital marketing and so forth. We located the developer who could custom code the additional essential requirements for that amount of money. And then the website was actually launched within a few weeks and actually lasted on the website, live for the next 18 months with further iterations, of course, before the company were actually then able to properly invest in a custom theme built from the ground up. So there's a lot to be said for just taking a little bit of time to identify those things that can actually save you time and money in the future as well. The other thing to kind of really take some time to look into are the Shopify admin itself, analytics and reports. The reason I say this is because I've worked with a lot of founders, CEOs, and even departments within organizations who are sadly somewhat put off by the multitude of sections on the Shopify admin and on other areas. And put simply, obviously easier said than done, but don't be. Take the time to understand what each section is and even why it's configured that way. I found it will go a long way to better understanding your store and ultimately your business. Each section is essentially configured to reach certain goals and fine-tune certain areas. And the key thing here is to get to know them. So new features are rolled out constantly. Shopify does something called editions, which is twice a year. So you get the summer and the winter editions. And typically they will talk about around about 100 or so features that they've released or about to release. So that kind of gives you some idea of the scale of and pace of change, if you will. And a lot of those new features are rolled out constantly, as I said, and are typically highlighted on the home tab of your admin. Additionally, you can, I don't know if you've signed up yet, I can't recall, but if you note the bell icon next to your name in the top right-hand corner, you'll see alerts about your store and your account will be shown there as well. So the home tab and section will also adapt over time as you use Shopify. And what that's designed to do is to actually encourage you to take the next step into, getting your first 5 sales, just first 10 sales. Maybe they'll see an opportunity for you based on your growth compared to other stores in your cohort to some degree, about what you might be able to do next that has helped other stores grow and scale and move forward and make revenue. The other key area I would advise becoming well acquainted with is your Shopify Analytics. Short, of course, of getting into Google Analytics and similar tools, Shopify has a pretty useful dashboard, especially when you're starting out. So ultimately, that's just kind of understanding about where your customers are coming from, how many completed checkout, and much more. All of that information is incredibly useful, and this can help you formulate your sales strategy moving forward. In terms of exploring, Shopify have a wealth of resources, a huge amount of resources for anyone using the platform, and they're incredibly valuable and incredibly well curated to help the Shopify store owner and budding entrepreneurs like yourselves in their endeavors. While the resources are very useful, be sure to apply and iterate on what you learn. There's also a danger of consumption without action because it all seems useful and interesting. So, for example, the blog has some great content around getting started, some quick start guides, and also some great links to free business tools such as the business name generator and the logo maker. The help center is essentially the how-to documentation for how best to use features on the platform. Or, for example, if you didn't understand what AOV was from the previous slide, search it here to learn more. With Shopify Learn, it's packed with courses, and tutorials and webinars around topics like inventory management, business strategy, UX, and much more. And as you can see in the screenshot there, you can see a goal setting with Damon John. So there's some really key, individuals there that are providing to the platform outside of Shopify themselves. And then finally, the Shopify YouTube channel has some great step-by-step instructions with very short tutorials teaching you how to navigate the Shopify admin, for example, and explore tips and tricks for customers for success in the e-commerce world as well. The final thing I wanted to touch upon is that you're not alone. Entrepreneurship is often described as a lonely pursuit. Rest assured that with the vastness of Shopify and the wider ecosystem, there is a host of other available resources to you. The whole community of entrepreneurs is ready to support, inspire, and share their experiences. Absolutely lean on this network and never hesitate to seek out guidance or help. So one of the things I want to talk about was the Shopify community. So Shopify has actually developed a curated space for its community to connect and collaborate. This can be a great resource to connect with other entrepreneurs, store owners, and those using the platform. Ask, and if you can, answer as many questions and even get some inspiration from here as well. And finally, Shopify support. So inevitably, as you grow your business and your store is changing to adapt to things can go wrong or not work how you anticipated. Again, be sure to reach out for help. And who better to reach out for help than the trained staff at Shopify themselves? You can actually reach out via telephone, email, and live chat, which I'm sure you're aware of, but I thought it was just worth reiterating that. Again, they've got a wealth of experience. I've worked with a lot of the team, as you can imagine, within Shopify internally. So I know they're incredibly well versed in the Shopify product and well versed in what entrepreneurs are trying to achieve, and they can be a huge resource in and of themselves. And that's just the closing of the presentation. I just want to thank you for your attention and open to any questions if anyone has any. I came to learn this from the last presentation. Okay, fantastic. Let's go. I would say that is a near impossible ask because of the rapidity of change. Even having been at Shopify for a year, I felt like I was still scratching the surface. And again, I think what the key thing I neglected to mention was about focus. So, and that's why I was saying that don't get too bogged down by things and all the resources that are out there, because you could just spend all your time just constantly reading. I mean, you're one person essentially, and Shopify is a staff of about, I think the last count was about 12,000, and they're all working on Shopify as a product. So you can imagine the rapidity of change as the market changes, but also that the amount of people working on products, it would be impossible. In short, it would just be impossible to even keep up, never mind start and finish. I can. Sure. Sorry, I can't. It's very faint, very faint. Great, thank you. Sorry about that. In which area? Sorry. In the US. Oh, POS. Sorry. I can't speak for Shopify anymore, so I no longer work for the company. So I'm not really sure at this point in time what that looks like in terms of the roadmap. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be at will to actually answer that question. I'm sorry. Ignacio does. Yes. Yes. Sorry about that. Hmm. Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Really good question. Um, so my take on that is, yeah, I appreciate on Shopify there's a huge investment in time and resources. The other thing I would say was that if it's with Shopify, it's your own resources. If you were on Amazon, you're at liberty with their structures and so forth. And my experience has been that in talking with my merchants while at Shopify who are on the Amazon platform as well, typically they've kind of said it's a lot more effort than the return on investment is. I think one of them was saying, I remember one quote specifically saying, it takes up 95% of my time with a 5% gain. So it's all about how you feel the business can grow and what the right channel for you is and what your product might be. So if you're a very niche product, maybe Shopify is the right answer. If it's a very generic product that people are likely to go to Amazon for, maybe that's the best avenue. Of course, you could argue that because it is a generic product on Amazon, you're also competing with thousands of other third-party sellers as well, including Amazon themselves. So there's no right or wrong answer here. It really depends on your product, your business, how far along you are in the process, and probably three factors I'm not even thinking of right now. But I would say it would just very much depend on where you're at. Ooh, that's a good question. In my experience, I've come across a lot of fashion. That tend to be kind of the businesses I specifically have worked with at during my time at Shopify. Even prior to working at Shopify, I was in the fashion industry. Um, so I would have to say it was fashion. I think a good 60% of the businesses, 70% I was working with were fashion, and I felt that was quite true across the board. I don't have the official figures, of course, but that's just my feeling based on what I've seen. Mhm. Cosmetics is big. Yep. Cosmetics is big. Yep. Okay. Not familiar with that many furniture brands, but I know of a few. Pet accessories. It is big. Here in the UK, that's very big. In fact, one of my colleagues, she had about three companies who did pet accessories. Air coolers. Oh yeah, I'd very much welcome one of those here in London right now. It's unusually hot here in London. Yeah. Well, yeah, they all sound very interesting, and I happen to know I can think of a company in each sector that do that exact thing here, and again, companies I've worked with here in EMEA. So yeah, good luck. Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I hope it's been useful. Thanks again for your time.